Anthony Joshua versus Jermaine Franklin. Who's fooling who? Ironically, it's on April the 1st, which is known as Fool's Day. So let's talk about this fight, the New Dawn. Anthony Joshua, I've nicknamed him now New Dawn, and I've nicknamed Franklin Been Here Before. Here we go. Let's talk about it on BWTM Sports. Don't go anywhere. I thought you wanted to hear it again. Hope you all are well and all good. Let's get into this. Glad you could join us. This is BWTM Sports Gaming. If you haven't hit the subscribe button, do smash the like button and make sure you watch the video till the end. So, Anthony Joshua versus Jermaine Franklin this Saturday night. And usually, people, there's a buzz about an AJ fight. There's a AJ's the event, AJ's fighting, and everyone's pretty excited about it. But there's a admittance, a quiet admittance that maybe this is not the fight that people want to see. Hercules has been beaten more than once now, and the once invincible AJ has been shown to be pretty vulnerable. This is BWTN Sports. We're going to talk about things. No prediction at the moment, but what I will do is I'll share some thoughts. Hopefully people in the room will talk about it. And also I'll have Uncle Bashir in the house at some point this evening to talk about the fight and his thoughts, being one of the guys that Anthony Joshua brought into camp to work with before he finally made his decision to join Robert Garcia and then go on to join with Derek James. I'm going to take you all way back. I'm going to take you way, way back. Most of the people that were talking rubbish back then at me, I hope Anthony Joshua and his team are listening. When I was talking all the way back then about Joshua, you need to find yourself a proper trainer. You need to leave that amateur gym and you need to find yourself a proper trainer. A trainer that can teach you the science of boxing. And it's that, I said this. And now, in 2023, after making some poor choices, Angel Fernandez, Garcia, you've now gone to Derek James. And the thing is, you've gone to Derek James, and everyone expecting miracles from Derek James. Derek James is not a magician. Derek James is a boxing trainer. Derek James is not the Messiah. Derek James is a boxing trainer. Okay? Derek James is a boxing trainer. That needs to be made very clear that he's a boxing trainer, yeah? Because for me, there's a lot of stock made in Derek James that's not necessarily needs to be there. He's a boxing trainer. Yeah, he's meant to get you in shape or get you into position that you're ready to fight come fight night. But let's strip things back a lot. I love Derek James. I think he's a fantastic trainer. Before he's a trainer, I think he's a great man. I've always said it. I've said it for years. I remember when Derek James, after Deontay Wilder fought Ortiz the first time, and we had that interview back then, and he said he would like to remodel Deontay Wilder. I knew then he wanted to be a heavyweight trainer. And now he's getting the opportunity to be a heavyweight trainer, not with an American, but with a Brit. So for Derek James, this is a project that he will take very seriously. But this is his first project as a heavyweight trainer. So very much this is a suck it and see situation. The difference between Garcia and Derek James is because Derek James is a former heavyweight. Okay, so he has that um, he has the advantage of heavyweight boxing, and he's a guy that understands the history of heavyweight boxing. That's the difference. And when I was telling you guys this stuff, a lot of the things that I see in boxing technical, as a high-level coach, not in boxing, as you are able to identify, look for behaviors of success. You look for behaviors of weaknesses. You watch people's mental setup and framework. And I said that AJ needed a father-like figure or brother-like figure around him. He's got that in Derek James, but that's fine. But again, this is Derek James's first dance. Let's get this very clear. It's his first dance. And AJ himself is now saying, well, you know, I don't want to put pressure on Derek James. You know, whatever happens, it's on me. Damn right, it's on you. If you lose the fight, it's damn well on you. Now, what Anthony Joshua and the media are telling you is that Derek James and Anthony Joshua have gone back to the basics. What does that tell you? As a coach and a high-level coach who's been coaching for over 25 years, when you're going back to the basics, it means that you're rebuilding the house. You're building a solid foundation, which means the foundation isn't there, or the foundation is not operating in the manner it should be. So he's not adding anything on top. He's just going back to the basics, throwing the jab properly, putting some spite on the right hand, maybe twisting and rotating the punches more on the punches rather than like arm punching, really following through and finishing the shot off. Like so, for example, Joshua maybe hitting let's say it's the bag, or he's hitting fighters and he's hitting fighters like that. Now James might be telling him to hit through, then hit at. And if you've been knocking guys out just by that, it's fine. But now when you're fighting against elite fighters, you need to put some more, he says more, there was expression was more dick on that shot. It means basically really twisting and putting all your weight behind the shot, bang, right through and following through, which means you're generating more power and more intent when you're throwing your punches. So there's a talk about Joshua setting his feet, setting his foundation, and really letting his shots rip. The basics. Joshua said himself, we're going back to the basics. And as a man who's won an Olympic gold medal, he's won the, unified heavyweight champion of the world, various defenses of the world title, and has beaten Olympic gold medalists along the way, and guys who've been good or very good champions. When I'm talking about in their own time, Vladimir Klitschko, Povetkin, he's done well for himself. Do you mean? And he's beaten some good guys around. Joshua's done well for himself without having the expertise in that corner. He's had cameos, but no real big actors for the role. And I think Derek James sort of fits that mold. But again, this is Derek James's his debut as a heavyweight trainer. And when you train a heavyweight, you can't train a heavyweight like you train a middleweight or welterweight. There are things you can get away with as a middleweight. Like a middleweight and a welterweight will throw a whole load of punches. Whereas a heavyweight, it's not about throwing all those punches, because if you throw 4, 5, 6 punches, you're liable to get countered with something. If you look at Vladimir Klitschko, for example, Vladimir Klitschko would be left jab, right hand. You very rarely see Klitschko go to the body. Left jab, right hand. Jab, 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 right hand down the pipe. Jab, 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 right hand down the pipe. Hold. Only when he's close, you throw the uppercut. You will see Klitschko throw 5, 6, 7 punches because you leave yourself open to be countered. And in heavyweight boxing, that is, you're leaving yourself susceptible to getting knocked out. That's why it's like jab, right hand. Even Lennox Lewis, you look at Lennox Lewis. You look at the way Lennox box. Jab, jab, looking jab, right hand. He might put a sequence of punch, be double jab, right hand. But you'll see him take this, look, move the head. But you see, if you look at a welterweight fighter might go boop, 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 like De La Hoya, for example. De Dolo would stand there for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 punches and be there. Do you know what I mean? And then skip away. The heavyweight boxers are a little different with that, at elite level at least. And so it's how Derek James is training Joshua. And from what I'm hearing, the language that's been spoken is like, you know what? Get out there, stick behind your jab, follow my instructions, and box. Let's go back to the basics. Back behind your jab, use your long jab, keep Franklin out the jab at the end of that jab. And if he comes close, crack him with that right hand. Let's use that jab. Let's get him close. And when he gets close, let's either use the right hand or let's throw the uppercut. Let's tie him up. That's what it sounds like to me. Derek James says, let's get the job done. I don't care if it looks good or not. I want to get the job done. Do you know why? Because they need more time to work on Joshua. They need more time to build from the foundation and get up. That's what's going on. So I expect Derek James in his first job with Anthony Joshua is to be the troubleshooter. All the stuff he did with McCracken, all the stuff he did with Angel Fernandez and Robert Garcia. Derek James is now the guy who's going in there now like a mechanic. He's opening the engine up and he's gone, I see this has happened here and that's happened there. And he's just kind of laying on the couch, kind of like Frankenstein. Not being disrespectful. I'm trying to just paint the picture. Frankenstein's like, okay, so why are you doing this? Let's open this up. Right. This is the reason why you're vulnerable to left hook. Oh, this is the reason why you had problems against Usyk. This is the problem reason why you had against Ruiz. And sitting down with AJ and using videos and watching with videos with AJ. So I think you're going to see more of that. So that's what I expect from AJ. Now, AJ and Dillian Whyte have one thing in common. You know what that is? When it comes to Jermaine Franklin, they both are coming into the fight against Jermaine Franklin with a new trainer. If you look at Dillian Whyte, he came into the fight with a new trainer, an American trainer. He had Howard the Shadow the night before. This time he has, I think Ronnie Shields he had in the corner with him. No, Buddy McGirt. He had Buddy McGirt in the corner with him. He had Buddy McGirt in the corner. And it was Buddy McGirt's expertise that stopped Whyte from getting knocked out. Because Whyte would have got knocked out by Jermaine Franklin. It was McGirt that said, listen to me. Listen to me. Use your jab. And if you listen to what Joshua is saying about being foundation solid and using the jab, we're going back to what Dillian Whyte was instructed to do against Franklin. Use the jab. And you'd like to think that Joshua's got a better jab than Dillian Whyte. At least Joshua is more fundamentally sound than Dillian Whyte because Dillian Whyte's coming from that kickboxing background. So, and it was kind of, I would say, Mark Tibbs that really kind of rounded Dillian Whyte up. So as Joshua has always had that kind of stiff sort of upper body, and very rigid style, but that has made him fundamentally better than, let's say, Dillian Whyte. And that's kind of got him much more success, if you get what I mean. So they both come into fight against Jermaine Franklin with new trainers, with new ideas. Franklin has been with the same trainer all the time. So it's not about foundation for Franklin. You had Dillian Whyte saying, his trainer in Buddy McGirt saying he'd never seen him box before. Wow. Never seen him fight before. That's Buddy McGirt. But at least Derek James has spent time with Anthony Joshua, and he's well aware of Anthony Joshua. Well before Joshua went to him, Derek James is aware of him. So I do get some element of respect when you're watching my video. You know who you are. When you're watching my video, and I've been critiquing and saying, these are the people you need to be around boxing people. But the question is it too little too late? Has there been too much damage over the years, collateral damage over the years? So now when Derek James is trying to make those adjustments, it's too late. The heart and ambition is gone. It's to the point where you said the other day, it's all about the money. You're still talking about the money today. At a press conference, you're talking about, it's about it's about the money. You went and said at Oxford, it's about, or wherever it was, that university said it's about the money. To me, those are all red flags. And the biggest red flag so far is you've used the word retirement, the R word. When you start hearing about fighters talking about the word retirement, and they're not even shutting that conversation down. Listen, I don't even want to talk about losing. You can talk about losing all you want. You can talk about it because it sells media. When you ask me that question about losing, I say I ain't answer that question. Next. But the fact that you've now given in and you've actually turned around and said, you know what? Yeah, I've actually said, if I lose, I'm going to retire. Yeah, well, then I'm going to retire. No, that's an affirmation. That is something that you actually coming out your mouth and speaking. That's a spell coming out of your mouth. You're all saying something. You're putting that into the universe. If I lose, I'll retire. And in boxing, the boxing gods are unforgiving. They're unforgiving. So I don't condone that sort of talk. And let's remind you all that even Derek James's prize fighter in Errol Spence, who was known to drink, went and got himself in that car crash and was drinking recklessly. At the end of the day, if Errol's drinking outside the ring, that is not Derek James's responsibility. So he handles what happens inside the gym. What happens outside the gym is not really Derek's business. He can advise him, but he say, man, you're a big man. You look after yourself. So I look at both guys going into the ring, like Dillian Whyte and Anthony Joshua, and very similar in situations. Both coming off the loss, both coming in with new trainers, both coming in with new ideas. And Dillian Whyte underestimated how good Jermaine Franklin is. I didn't. I saw Jermaine Franklin was a good fighter. I said someone's going to get their chin checked in this fight, and Dillian Whyte's very lucky he didn't get knocked out in that fight. Again, go back and listen to the tape when Dillian Whyte was in trouble. Buddy McGirt pleaded with him to use the jab. Let me hear what people are saying in the comment section. Loads of people in the comment section. Let me hear what people are saying. Let's go. Better fights could have been made, in my opinion. If you take a piece of metal to a blacksmith, he can only sharpen it. Derek James fits the mentor-trainer model, but the question is whether he can put it into practice. Sorry about it, Phil. What the hell that was? I don't know. Anyway, just streaming, I can do some dodgy things at times. That Klitschko jab and grab was crucial for Vlad to get up close to make sure he didn't get counted inside. Vitaly didn't jab and grab. Why? Better chin and not susceptible to that. Buddy McGirt is a good trainer, and his advice and expertise helped White reform some of the mortal sins of boxing he was committing. Yep. AJ style is the old school and defunct European fighting style. Straight up, Robocop, stiff 1-2, go back, reset, repeat progress. It's process. Yep. Frank Bruno, I would say. AJ on Sunday morning, bruv, get Bashir on the plane. Don't care what you got to do, bruv. Just get him on the phone. AJ just needs to land leather instead of touching, trying to point, worrying about his ego. People saying he can't box. Boxing ain't his strength, it's power. Andre Ward, when you say that word retirement, it's already in your mind. Absolutely, absolutely. I think Elspeth Jr. learned from the near-death experience. Either that or he proved to us he's one of the X-Men. How did he survive that? He's one of the X-Men. If everyone is saying to you, you will retire, if you lose, it's got to be frustrating, Matt Ingram. Come on. At some point, you've got to say whatever you want, big man. I'm fighting this weekend. Miss me with the BS. I'm sorry. I can't. I mean, you can speak like that because that is what you think. But I think the way I speak like is not just as somebody who's like doing sports punditry or sports commentary, but from a coaching perspective. From a coaching perspective, and how we're trained to deal with the media, not how we're trained to deal with media, not just with a player, but how a player talks to the media. Entertaining conversations about retirement is not on. Absolutely no, it's not. And I don't think any trainer would allow it. Nah, he's saying to stop people talking. You're overanalyzing Joshua because he's easy to criticize. He talks waffle a lot, but for this fight, his interviews have been a lot better. Yeah, they have been, but still, just don't engage. Just don't engage. Your media just don't. There's ways you can engage with the media, but you don't need to engage like that. That's what I'm saying. AJ White, Fury Joyce, all of American-based trainers. I know. No, it's because he's got hundreds of questions of people, including Eddie, saying he should retire. Yeah, well, his promoter's not done any favors, and it's not the first time. I don't think AJ wants to fight anymore, but Hearn has too much dirt on him. He's the one who pushed him to go out to the US. Taylor, I spoke about this before. When AJ fought Parker, if you remember, I was with Chris Mason from Darts, and we both sat down and said, you know what? This is the time for him to leave Matchroom. I said he won't leave Matchroom because they've got dirt on him. That's why he never signed with Al Heyman. Because he wanted to sign with Al. How long do you think AJ's been wanting to go to America? Come on. If he brought it up himself, even as a joke, I'd get your point. But it was brought to him in every interview. And many people kept saying, including Eddie the Muppet, yeah, well, you can shut that stuff down. You can shut it down by just saying one thing. If you want to do an interview with me, and that is why you have a public relations officer. Public relations officer, that's what they're meant to do. If you ask AJ any questions about retirement, you will never, ever do another interview with Anthony Joshua. Do you get it? Do you get it, mate? Do you get it? Any of them, any questions about retirement, right, mate? Right, mate? You'll never, I tell you, never do another interview with Anthony Joshua. Do you get it? And there's so many guys who want interviews with Anthony Joshua that won't happen. So I'm sorry. I disagree with all of you if you think that the media have more power, particularly smaller media setups have more power than someone like Joshua. They're coming to interview him. So if he says, look, I'll answer your questions, but don't talk about stuff about retirement to me. Don't even bother. And if you do, you're never going to do an interview with me again. So you shut that stuff down very quickly. AJ should have Kelly Swanson as PA. She's sharp, aggressive, moves the press pool along properly. That's why Mayweather had his entire career. I think it was her, or it might be another one. It might be one of them PRs that I came across years ago. I didn't like the way she operated. It might have been her who had Andre Ward. The one who was Andre Ward's PR, she was terrible. Sorry. What do you mean at Taylor? Ellie Swanstone or Kathy Duva? Okay, yeah. It's just that's where your public relations come in. That's where your public relations come in. So I don't agree. He doesn't have to answer all these questions. He chooses to answer these questions. You can say, you know what, 1 minute per interview, or 1 minute 30 per interview. Trust me, you won't be asking about retirement. You will ask something more pertinent in your questions. But when you got 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 minutes, 30 minutes, then you can ask a whole heap of nonsense and add rubbish questions in as well. Do you understand? So there's a way it can be done. It can be streamlined. Yeah. In some ways, I sort of like the way the UFC do their interviews. I sort of liked it because they're sort of like the press there seems to be in the know, and they seem to be a bit more organized, controlled. Can tell here, don't want to get Ingram in trouble. No, you don't. You won't get me in trouble, mate. I just won't talk about it. I didn't say it. Ingram, what does Bashir think about Joshua linking up with Derek James? Well, let me guess what Bashir will say beforehand. He will tell you that, it's a guess, I'm sure he will tell you that Derek James hasn't traded in the heavyweights before. Correct. He will also say that it's another experiment. Why would you pick Derek James? Although he's a trainer of the year and he's a successful trainer with Spence and Jamal Charlo and the other guys got, that's fine, but they're at the lower weights. So in that sense, he's no different to Robert Garcia. And this is Derek James's first fight trainer as a heavyweight. The only thing that he's got in his advantage is that he himself was a heavyweight fighter. So he kind of knows the dangers of heavyweight boxing. So that's what I can assume Bashir will say. But why would you go to, let's say, that's nonsense again. He should have gone to, he was too hard-headed, Joshua. He should have gone to Usyk. He should have gone to Bashir. If he wasn't so hard-headed, he had a bit of sense, he would have gone to Bashir, and who knows if today Anthony Joshua could still have been world champion today. Because if he brought Bashir in his corner the night before Usyk, even if Usyk had beaten the first time around, they could have made adjustments and had a second fight Usyk and won the title back. But you didn't bring the guy in who trained Usyk. That's nonsense. You brought a guy in on Robert Garcia who was a gamble. There was no, Robert Garcia had no proven resume in the heavyweight division, and really, nor has Derek James. We slide Derek James because he's been a heavyweight, and that's where I slide towards him. He's been a heavyweight. He's been successful in the lower weight divisions. He's been a trainer of the year in the lower weight divisions. But I believe a guy like Derek James is a very diverse type of guy. I'm sure he can adapt. A very intelligent, articulate man. So, yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Joshua always gets asked loaded questions, though. Fury just ends interviews or blocked media channels. Fury's got sense. Because there's no such thing as bad media or bad press. It's just press. It's just news. So when Fury shut down that Geordie guy and was disrespectful to him, it made news. That's just it. It's just making news. People talk about you. That's all. Shout out Ingram. There we go. Here's a question. Why no Bashir interviews for like 6 months, champ? Why don't you pay attention and listen to my videos? Bashir interview tonight. Okay, let's go on. Joshua, as part of being a brand, in my opinion, just takes all questions and looks too good as gold. Now he's with Derek James. Hopefully his media engagement is more controlled. Possibly. Or the way he engages with media will be different, because when you start to hang around a guy like Derek James, your language will change naturally. James fighters are protected, juice and stuff. Look at his fighters before they joined James. Okay. AJ would never go to Bashir because Bashir is real and old school. He wouldn't put up with the real AJ and his tutti frutti posse. AJ on camera is not the real AJ. Yep. I do. It's unusual for you not to have Bashir on. Well, just thinking about it. Yeah, it's not unusual. I haven't spoken to Bashir since January. But since January, I've been doing my exams and I'm doing my assignments. So today is my final day. So I was meant to do, I thought I'd done my exams and did my exams like at the beginning of the week. I got my level 2 graduation. I got my level 2 certificate. And then only yesterday, I got an alert telling me that 4 exams were missing. I'm like, what? So I went back and looked, and there were 4 exams I hadn't done, and those 4 exams were released. So I had to do those exams last night. And while I did those exams last night, I spoke to Bashir. So today, I spoke to Bashir. Bashir's been in hospital as well. So, yeah, that's what's happened. AJ is mentally too weak for Bashir. We want to hear what the exams are on. Oh, yeah, it's my level 3. So it's my level 3 professional coaching exams. I've been coaching for 25 years. This particular coaching course allows me, I've been coached by one of the greatest coaches of our time. He's won a World Cup. He has taken the Indian team to #1 in the world. So, yeah, I've just finished doing my level 3. That allows me to coach at international level. I mean, I can coach international squads, England, Pakistan, you name it. I can coach at that level now. So it's a level I've been wanting to. I mean, I did do some work for the West Indies before, coaching for my island, well, one of the islands of Grenada. So yeah, it's a 3. Level 3, in it. Yeah, in it. Yes, bruv. For level 3. And did you know, 17 years ago, I believed, when I knew all the politics were going on in the UK, I believed my qualification would come via South Africa. And would you believe it's a South African that has decided to design this course, and it's got some of the greatest players that have been on this course. So like in this course, the likes of Kumble, Stain, let me think who else, Peter Moores, Gary Kirsten, who's my coach, who else, Morkel. So many different guys have learned from and understood from. Even fast bowler Fidel Edwards is on the course as well. So a lot of quality guys are on the course. So the level 4 is the master coach. That's the highest you can get, master coach. And I think that's about $3,500 to do that course. So yeah. This is a cricket, I assume. It's like the pro football license. Yeah, it's like that. Well, no, not really, because I would be deemed a professional cricket coach already. It would just be the levels that I would be. So, like the way they shut you out with these like these jobs, they go, "Oh, you need to have a level 3," but for you to get the level 3, you need to be accepted on the course, and to be accepted on the course, you need to go through certain doors of people who don't look like me. I don't care for people like me. You know what I mean? So that's how it's been. But yet they're quite happy to take the players that I train and put them in their county squads. So, you know, we've dealt with all that now, and we're going to get our level 3, and to hell with that, you know. Fortunate, and you know, that's what's been going on. And how hard did the exams get as you got the levels? Well, level 2 is technical, so you get your technical stuff put together. Level 3 is where you're now talking about relationships with players, getting the best out of players, how we talk to the media, how we model performance flows. So how would I get a player that's lacking in confidence? How do I get them back to playing to their best? Or like I would sit down and watch videos of previous matches that have been played in the last year. So there may be a bowler bowling in that, and let's say, right, okay, they'll stop the tape and say, right, here's the averages of that guy who's been done, what he's been done in the last 5 games. How can you prove that player? How How can you improve that bowler or batsman? Okay, how can you make that batter better? What would you do if you coach this team? How would you make this team a better team? So to break that down, in football, that would be me like watching, it'd be like me watching Arsenal football team or Tottenham football team, or Tottenham football team would be a perfect example. Why is it that so many managers have left Tottenham Football Club that have been successful, but when they go to Tottenham Football Club, they're not successful? So then you've got to ask yourself the question, is it the managers? Some of the managers gone in, so you ask, maybe not. Is it the structure? Does the structure support the vision? Does the structure support long-term vision? Does the structure support their managers? Does the structure support changing of culture? So we talk about culture as well and how the culture is within a team. So I may come into a team now and the culture in that team can be very relaxed. So relaxed that when we train without any intensity. We don't train with any purpose. We just train because we have to train, because we want to train. Therefore, that reflects in the matches. So as I come in as a coach and say, right, okay, we've got to tighten things up. We need to train with more intensity. We need to train with purpose. So you're putting a vision in players. And how do you get those players on board? How do you work with your star players? How do you get your star players on board? How do you deal with a player that's not following the rules when everyone else is? Things like that. So, yeah, that's your level 3 for you. Oh, that's interesting. So level is basically about optimization. Making everything as efficient as it could be. Quite possibly. Making things as efficient as possible. You've got the technique. You've got the technical skills. And now you're learning. As someone like we talked about AJ, the foundations. That's why I can tell you that Derek James is going to work with the foundations now. He's changing the culture of the AJ. There was a culture of AJ before. Like, if you listen carefully to the media and when they describe AJ, listen to the things they say. You'll never, ever hear people say, oh, Lennox Lewis is a big heavyweight. They will say Lennox Lewis is tall, he's athletic, he's got good boxing ability, he's got a good jab. If you look at George Foreman, it was always big George Foreman because George Foreman could box. Foreman has a fantastic jab, but he was known as a power puncher. We talk about Larry Holmes. You talk about Larry Holmes being a big guy, but Larry Holmes had fantastic boxing ability. Whenever you hear media talk about a person's size, it means they don't rate their boxing ability. You never hear people say, AJ's a superb boxer. You'll never hear that. You'll hear he's a big guy, he's a lump, he's a unit. You see, it's negative things they're saying about AJ. But you just repeat what you say because you think, yeah, he is a unit, he's big. But from a coach's standpoint, I'll listen to that and say, no, don't get into that, my son. Don't get into that because you start to believe, yeah, I'm big, I'm strong, I can just bully my way forward. And that's what sort of mentality that people like Spencer Oliver and a lot of these clowns in boxing are talking about. Oh, he just needs to be big and strong and charge forward against Usyk. And that nonsense they're still talking about today, telling us about how AJ needs to be big and strong. And remember the days of AJ when he was younger. When AJ was younger, he was inexperienced. He was just a big tearaway, but he was inexperienced. You can't maintain that sort of fighting style against the elites. You get picked off, you get countered. It's not sustainable, that way of boxing. Not at elite level. So it's just, you hear a lot and you listen. Inga, what's the most gifted cricketer you've seen as a coach in your time? Well, my role model or my inspiration is Sir Vivian Isaac Richards. Richards would come out to bat against the fastest bowlers in the world, and he'd just come out with a hat and just a cap, and he'd face the fastest bowlers in the world. Yeah, Lillian Thompson and this guy's Lillian Thompson. They were putting people in a hospital. What a hospital! Guys being stretched off the field, and all Richards had was a cap on his head, and he was a great man, Richards. I remember once. I never understood Richards why I attracted him so much. He was telling the English media were telling Viv Richards how to bat. They say, listen, I don't tell you how to write. I don't tell you how to write the news. Don't tell me how to bat. So Richards, and he would beat them all the time. So yeah, it's great. Upset tragedy that AJ didn't choose Bashir. Still can't get my head around that. Congratulations on your studies. Thank you very much. Preach. Spencer Oliver, etc., saying he needs to be his old self. Makes my skin crawl. Toxic leeches. AJ should move to Texas and get away from the clowns. Absolute clowns. Absolute freaking clowns. A lot of them are clowns. They don't know boxing. And if AJ boxes that way, the way they say, and he gets knocked out, they'll say, oh, AJ can't box. Got to keep away from the people like that. Really, they're absolute clowns. Need to keep away from that. Really do. The worst is Gareth A. Davis, who's the most two-faced guy. I remember meeting Gareth A. Davis. When did I meet? At the first time I met Gareth A. Davis was when he Fury Chisora, the second fight. No. Yeah. I met him. And I talked to him and I said to him, "You a fan of boxing, mate?" Hey, well, no, I'm not a fan of boxing. I'm a fan of sports, but I can't be a fan of boxing. Really? That was as genuine as when Adam Smith, I said, Adam, when is Sky going to do non-biased commentary? Sky will never do biased commentary. Our commentary is always down through the middle. I'm like, really? So, yeah. Gareth A. Davis, how many amateur fights has he had again? I don't know. But I'll tell you something. I still am eyeing up that professional boxing license. I'm still eyeing it up. I've still got one eye on it. And I think that cross sports is incredible. Just being able to, because of boxing, I've used a lot of what I've learned from boxing in cricket in terms of fitness, in terms of mental conditioning. Like, for example, I think, like, I won't give too much away, but I think that the red ball in cricket, where a batsman moves out the way, it's like the fist of a box and gloves. But the guy moves out the way, slips and moves. Same way you're moving out the way of the ball. Yeah? And so when a fighter throws hooks in boxing, it's like how a guy will play a pull shot in boxing. Or they'll play the reverse sweep in boxing. See the movements? Similar. Right? And the jab, when a person throws a jab, there's a jab there, all right? There's a jab, and put there's a jab, right? It's like when you're playing the forward defensive or the front foot drive. You get yourself in behind and play the shot. So it's just how you bring in sports together. It's an incredible thing that you can bring sports together. So if I'm able to do what I want to do in cricket, at some point I want to cut out and come into the world of boxing. So if I'm going to next thing I study, either I do my level 4 or I want to go and study boxing training somewhere or the other. Something I definitely want to do. I've got my boxing size. I've got my boxing tutor license, but I want to go further with it at some point. Yeah. So back to the AJ with Franklin thing. Look, I think if you're asking me about AJ and Franklin has got himself, he's going to come to fight. Yeah, I'll be back later. What you say about how the UK media call AJ as a big unit, etc., rather than talking about his skill, the silent shade negativity, the real hypno to me, to be honest. Yeah, it is. It is. But okay, they would never talk about Lennox Lewis and say, Lennox Lewis, he's a big unit, isn't he? They might say, like, he's a big guy, but they won't focus on him being a big guy. The guy's got a great jab, big right hand, good boxing ability. If you listen to Lennox Lewis fight, they say, yeah, Lennox Lewis dominating behind the left jab. You'll never, ever hear a fight where they say Anthony Joshua is dominating behind the left jab. Joshua don't dominate nobody behind the left jab. Not yet. Dominate someone behind the left jab. It just isn't that. He's not good enough like that. Do you know what I mean? Jimmy needs to talk about Bruno as well, about his big muscles. Oh, big Frank muscles. You know? What else is I meant to say? AJ is amazingly skilled. No, but no, that's exactly my point. They are telling you he's not skilled by saying he's a big lump or he's a unit. If you listen to how they talk, look at him. He looks like a unit. Well, what is this? Is this a bodybuilding competition? He looks like a unit. But you look at Tyson Fury. They won't talk about Tyson Fury as a unit, yet the guy is taller than Joshua, longer than Joshua, and arguably bigger than Joshua. At what, 19 stone? I say Tyson Fury is a unit. How often you hear Tyson Fury is a unit? Come on. There's just ways and ways that you can subtly insult people. And you know as Brits, there's ways you can undertone and talk to people in a manner which is disrespectful, and you can still smile in a man's face. Do you understand? You can say things, and the media think they're smart. They're not smart at all. Only because I've worked in media myself, I understand the nonsense that's going on. You know what I mean? So, and another thing, if AJ now has suddenly turned around and saying he'll retire, and he's conceded to the British press, how much does he really want to be in boxing still? That's a good point. Never say you Fury's a unit. Well, he's 6'7". He's not a unit. Come on. They will say exactly. The British media, the British press and the media are what they are. You just have to understand the psychology and where they're coming from, and they think they're smart and they're not. Even Spencer Oliver's mate said, yeah, Josh is a big unit, ain't he? He's a big unit. Even Barker himself says it. Yeah, Josh, he's big, ain't he? He's a big unit. Even Ade's got himself caught up in that now. Yeah, he's a unit, ain't he? Yeah, yes, we know Joshua's big. And they always focus on his, have you noticed how they always focus on Joshua's size? Oh, he's big. He looks bigger in this one. Yeah, he's a big guy. He's naturally a big guy. So, I mean, but nobody, if they really want to go there, if you look at pictures of Anthony Joshua when he started his career, right? And then the rapid side of way he just kind of blew up. Nobody talks about how he was. Look at when he first started his pro career, and then look at how he got bigger and bigger. And then he got to the point where he was like the Incredible Hulk by the time he fought a Takam. Do you remember those days? Or you forget those days? Joshua's big weightlifter, big dosser. Yeah, that's what Fury said. Fury says a lot of things. But how often in the media do you hear people say Tyson Fury is contradictory? Don't listen to Tyson. He's always contradictory. The only person who's really come out and said it now is Gareth A. Davis. Strong. I like this the way now Joshua's talking about Tyson Fury, very nice now, not getting into anything disrespectful about Tyson Fury, watching how he says, the way he's talking now, very interesting. And I watch the way he's talking, and then I watched the way he talked to Franklin. And he went to Franklin, you're digging yourself a bigger grave. The way he kind of turned and looked at him, I could see some fire there. But is that fire which is real and fire which is with intention, or is it a fake fire, which means that you just don't come close to me? That sort of thing. You do wonder. Yeah, and the weight. They always look at the weight and make a focus. There you go. How do you break down a Joshua fight? What strategy is going to be used in the fight? What has Derek James been working on in the fight? For the fight? Do you remember what Gareth A. Davies asked Dillian Whyte if he showered before fights? Dillian wanted to give him a left. UK media. You know what? I've come to the conclusion when it comes to media, particularly boxing media, you don't have to be professional. You just need a camera and a microphone and access. That's it. You don't have to be professional, because if you're professional, you should be impartial. And Spencer Oliver and Anthony Joshua should never, ever be left in a room together with an interview. I'm sorry. I just don't think it's fair, because he's going to sit there. Oh, Josh, you're a great fighter. Oh, Josh, they disrespect you. Oh, Josh, like, you haven't done things to sort of like, Derek James said that they've worked on improving on AJ's movement, defense, and counter punching. Yeah, Derek James has said that. And nobody's going to call Derek James a unit, are they? Nobody's going to say Derek James, he's a big guy. And he's a heavyweight, Derek James. He's not a small guy. I've met him face to face. He's a big guy. He's a heavyweight. Maybe you could call him a unit. Like, people respect him because he's a skilled trainer. They respect it. And they can't talk any rubbish about him because he's a skilled trainer. They can't. Josh, you outboxed the best boxer on the planet. He didn't. So stuff like that is not only cringeworthy, it's unprofessional. And there needs to be something to, because if it continues like this, with the lack of unprofessionalism, biased questions, not thought-provoking questions, and people being allowed to get away with saying what they want, when they like, how they feel, something needs to be done about it. I've said it. Fury is allowed to open his mouth and abuse the living daylights out of Alexander Usyk. And this is a guy that's going to then lecture and preach and talk about mental health. Really? So what could get a person into a mental health condition? Bullying can do that. Emotional abuse can do that. And Tyson, it's not to say that you haven't been verbally abusing Alexander Usyk. But who's going to raise that? Huh? Who's going to talk about that? No, they won't. But they will bring up about Joshua when he went and did that Black Lives Matters thing, and he talks about, and I would not have advised Joshua to have said that when he talks about, don't shop in white people. I would not have advised him to have done that. When you think about his team, the majority of people around him are white. I really would not have advised. I wouldn't have advised it anyway, because not every white person is racist. Just not like every black person that's racist. Listen, it's not about the color of your skin. It's about the content of your heart. I'm not preaching. I'm just saying. But that didn't do Joshua any favors. That was a PR disaster, followed up with another PR disaster, which was the rant when he was in Saudi Arabia, wherever he was in the world, or Dubai, or wherever he was, and he picked up them belts when it was Usyk's moment to talk about the war and what he's come through, and to dedicate the fight to his people and stuff. That was Usyk's moment. Instead, Joshua stole that opportunity by ranting and raving and making it about him. This, again, is another situation. You understand? So people are voting with their money. I just wish they'd vote for their money more in a lot more situations. I hope they vote with the money when Conor Benn and Eubank decide to fight, if that they do fight. Yeah, so those are my thoughts on that. Gone a little bit off tangent there, but I don't do these shows as much. But yeah, my thoughts on Franklin versus Joshua. White went out there trying to do new things. Joshua's going to go out there and try to be very basic. stick with the jab, box, and then when the opportunity is right, get him out of there. That's the idea. That's what I'm hearing come out of Derek James' mouth. Use the jab and box. And the other reason why I think they're going very basic is because it's very clear that Joshua cannot absorb complicated game plans. Because, or if he can, it wasn't explained very well by the previous trainer. Because if it's true what his promoter said, that he was reading off he was reading notes and doing pad work before he went out to fight Alexander Usyk, that's a bad look. I don't know about this, but if your promoter is talking about this stuff, your promoter has done you no favors. Just promoter needs to know when to shut his mouth. I thought a promoter's job is to always have you in your best light possible. And the promoter does him no favors when he's there talking about, oh yeah, you know, we're going to get the Tyson Fury fight next. Stop with that talk. Stop with that talk. The only conversation should be Joshua needs to win this fight against Jermaine Franklin. And going and making comments like, do you know what's funny? AJ said in an interview recently, I don't lift weights. My muscle come from eating the bag and nutrition. How stupid do you think people are? Well, I heard that too. Well, I don't know how to answer that. I really don't know how to answer that one. Apart from, yeah, it's along the same lines of Conor Benn getting caught with the consumption of eggs. I just wonder that if Conor Benn's the only athlete in the world that has been caught with an excessive amount of eggs in his body. Because if he's the only fighter, if the only athlete in the whole world, all those weightlifters and athletes, all those runners, and anybody who needs protein in their body is going to take eggs in their system. It's not allergic. This is the only guy in the entire universe, the whole Earth, planet Earth. Think this out. The only guy on planet Earth that had an excessive amount of consumption of eggs has been caught with performance-enhanced drugs. And the thing is, when you looked at Conor Benn early in his career, I don't know where I've got this Conor Benn thing. You looked at Conor Benn early in his career and he got knocked down by that French guy. And he went life and death for the French guy in the second fight. And then all of a sudden, he goes away, he comes back, he has a chin transplant, and then he's knocking dudes out at a much bit higher level. And I'm like, hold on. How's this dude doing this? How is this dude doing this? How is this dude moving from that, like, I tell you another guy that I always thought, how'd that happen? Crawler. Crawler was an average boxer at best. He was an average boxer at best. He goes away, gets cracked over the head. He comes back, becomes a world champion. I'm like, what? Anthony Crawler, remember that? And then you have this situation of Conor Benn. He goes away. He was terrible. He comes back, and now he's knocking dudes out. I'm like nobody would. You talked about Conor Benn. People thought at the time Conor Benn would just about win an area title. That's what people were saying back in the day. Conor Benn will win an early area title. Now they're talking about, oh yeah, he can fight Pacquiao and he can fight Brook and he'll fight Thurman and he can go and fight Spence. And are we talking about the same Conor Benn? How did you jump from that to that? I mean, like, his coaching there is ability to improve, but that jump from area to elite in such a short space of time, what? Because you've been banging out in the gym. Something ain't right there. Something ain't right there. I don't know what it is, but AJ vs. Dillian Whyte is such a trash fight. They can't sell that nonsense. No nonsense at this point. Well, Another thing to consider, just for a second, is Dillian Whyte past the sell-by date? Is Dillian Whyte damaged goods? Is Dillian Whyte a shadow of his former self? If so, a shadow of his former self made Franklin go to war. I'm just saying. And then how highly did you rate Dillian Whyte? Did you rate Dillian Whyte highly because of he was number one in the WBC ranking for 2 years? Or did you actually think Dillian Whyte was that good? In retrospect, well, Dillian Whyte, he probably, he didn't say, oh, well, Dillian don't listen in training, or Dillian Whyte, he's shot now, he's back the money, but he ain't that good anymore. And, he just come off a knockout defeat to Tyson Fury, and, where's AJ now? AJ, he's bigger and he's stronger and he hits harder than Dillian and he's a better boxer than Dillian. So, yeah, let's make the Franklin fight. We'll blow him out there. Franklin's coming with better shape this time round. So, better mobility, speed, movement. But because he's lighter, that extra weight that man held him up when he got hit with a shot, this time when he gets hit with the same shot, he may fall over like a sack of potatoes real quick. So, JJ may just go out there, put the jab on him, hit with a right hand, and Franklin may just fall through the ropes. Would that be spectacular? Not really. Because that's what you expect him to do, right? Is AJ knocking Franklin out through the ropes in the first few rounds spectacularly? Is that what you expect of AJ? Yeah, a lot of people are expecting that. So is that a great performance? Not really. If you're basing it off the Dillian Whyte who's shot, not really. However, if now AJ is in a drawn-out war with Franklin, and Franklin ends up rocking AJ, we do know one thing: there's nothing that Derek James can change, is that chin. And when he gets hit on that chin, AJ, he smiles. And then after that, where AJ gets hit with punches, he don't throw anything back. If you put AJ back and you hit him and you push him back and you attack him, he's not good. Once you get mid-range of AJ, past the jab, mid-range of AJ, and close, there's trouble for AJ. We know that. Boxing media right now start complimenting AJ's chemist. Actually, I'm interested in your thoughts about PDs and sports as a whole at the elite level. I said something years ago about the Tony Thompson David Price fight, and I said, you know what? If you are going to ban PEDs in boxing, my friend, the sport is corrupt. So who's doing the banning? Are the corrupt banning the corrupt? An independent panel. Well, really? So if independent panel comes in and says they're going to ban Canelo for a year, that's a lot of money that's been missed out on. So how's that going to work? To me, I don't agree with the PEDs, but the PEDs are in the sport and people are turning blind eyes. So for me, we do one of two things. We continue to put lives in danger by people being know how to fiddle the system, or you all do PEDs. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. I don't know where in boxing that, if it's good for him, it's good for me. Well, if it's good for him, it's good for me. If it's good for her, it's good for her. You want to do PEDs? Well, I'll do PEDs as well. No problems. So we're on a fair playing field. Just a matter of you might get better PEDs than me. Well, okay, fine. And then, we're sponsored by chemists. Fine, fair enough. Everyone gets paid. It sounds bad, but the sport is as corrupt as it is, and it doesn't look like anything soon is going to change when it comes to PEDs. So that's my thoughts on it. If they don't make Fury and Wilder next, it will never happen, as both guys will be done in boxing next 18 months, most likely. True. Done, or one of them gets chinned again, or if Fury gets chinned or Wilder gets chinned. If AJ's in a war with a non-top 40 British level guy like Franklin, it's over. Yeah, PEDs and boxes like PEDs and SummerSlam cage matches. Yeah, it is what it is. You know, listen. If we can't stop corrupt judges and fighters with referees on their side, like fighters who get in the ring, who've got the referee on their side and the judges in their pocket. You want to stop PEDs, something that's inside the fighter's body. So check this out: a fighter's got PEDs, he's got a referee like stopping the other fighter from fighting, you know, allowing a guy to hold or not hold, and then you've got judges who are scoring 10-8 before the fighter even gets into the arena. I mean, come on, that as corrupt can be. That's it. They're using PEDs in amateur fights, but there you go. That's it. So as far as I'm concerned, the sport is corrupt, and if you can't stop the referees and the judges from making corrupt decisions, you have no chance in hell stopping PEDs. And you want to talk about PEDs? Well, guess what? You've got a guy who is now possibly going to be fighting a guy that just got knocked out, but the guy who just got knocked out lost weight to fight the guy who's got done by PEDs. They're going to now fight potentially June the 3rd, Eubank and Ben. So you tell me, in another country, well, where the guy who's licensed still hasn't got his license, going to box abroad. You tell me. You talk about PEDs in boxing. Forget the PEDs in boxing. We've got more issues, more pressing issues. Our promoters, our matchmakers, our judges, our judging system. What consequences are there for poor judges? Are there investigations in poor judging decisions? What happened with Cattrall and Taylor should never be allowed to happen. But you want to try and stop PEDs? Really? I don't think it's going to happen. So, not happening. Even Fury, who looks like a bag of milk, Pop Fernandez, they're all on something. That's my opinion. I think back in the day it was more prolific, though. Okay. I miss you being in the journalist beat. These current guys are afraid to ask tough questions to Eddie, AJ, and have their press credentials revoked. But listen, I was jumping in Eddie's car, getting nice rides, either into the arena or with the fighter coming into the press conference. It was funny, and I wasn't allowed in. So can you imagine that? Or being stopped from getting into the arena, stopped from going into the O2 arena, and still getting a pass by Don King and his promotions to get into the arena and get VIP pass and going backstage. Those were back in the day. I enjoyed it. It was fun. Sorry, I had to do that for a minute there. I had to do that. Yeah, and I was loving it. So you can hate me all you want, but it is what it is. You are money makers, not matchmakers. That's what you are. They should change your name from Matchroom to Money Makers. Money makers. That's what you are. You are not boxing aficionados. You're not. You are just money makers. You don't care about the career fighters. You don't care about building fighters' careers. You just care about making as much money as possible for fighters because you're accountants. That's cool. No problem. But don't promote to be something that you're not. You pay on time. Well done. You're just professional. Well done. Should you be getting a clap on the back for paying fighters on time? No, that should just be the standard. So you shouldn't be getting promoted for that. Just shows you how poor the sport is. Imagine you're being celebrated for paying fighters on time. That's like celebrating a footballer for kicking a ball or celebrating a boxer for throwing a jab. That's your job. That's what you're supposed to do. And anybody who doesn't do those things, then you know they're unprofessional. How are you going to make a Wilder fight with AJ on DAZN when you damn well know Wilder won't fight in DAZN? By that time you throw AJ to the wolves. When you throw AJ to Wilder, you're throwing him to the wolves. Or you're waiting for Wilder to get so damn old, he needs a wheelchair to get to the ring. Siobhan, imagine Ultra, Ingram, and Jason Walker asking a request at press conferences. Hey, listen, I'm not doing it anymore. I went there before, and the reason why I stopped doing those press conferences is because two things were happening. The first thing was happening is when I did interviews, everyone would stop doing their damn interviews and stop and listen to me doing an interview. I swear, I am not lying to you. I wish there were people around that watch. They would stop and watch me watch like this. I swear. And if you notice something, I don't know if you notice something in these chummy interviews. Have you ever watched when the camera is on, you see the same people walking in the background? Have you ever noticed that? When they've got the camera on someone, it's the same operational people walking in the background. Watch carefully. Watch carefully. The same people walking in the background. Somehow they always seem to find themselves walking past in the back of the camera. I'm like, this dude ain't got nothing better to do with his life but to make sure he's seen in the camera. Like, why is that? Why is that? If you understand what these press conferences are like, they're like, I don't understand, like orgies. I've never been to an orgy, but sort of like, it's sickening. Can't go there. It's suffocate you when you go there. You go there, everyone's looking at you like what? Like, do you fancy me? Or is something on my nose? You get real conscious. All right, mate, how you doing? And all this fake stuff. And then they're watching all your interviews. They're watching all your videos. Oh, mate, I saw you got 300,000 video views for that video. Oh, yeah, I like the way you asked that question. Like, what is this nonsense? So I stopped it. I thought, you know what? And then you get people that come on this channel and build their careers off this channel, and then they start working with, the top fighters as PR, public relations. And then they ask you the question, then they go and become high flyers. Then when they see you, they don't know you. They don't know you. Me, you put money before integrity. I ain't that guy. That's why I could never work for these organizations, because my integrity is first. And that's why I love working where I work. Working for a national sports show, which has got over 200 million people in the country to talk sport, because it's real stuff. Can't be doing this disingenuous stuff. The people that you actually kind of like move together with, did interviews together, did sit down and talk boxing with, literally sit next to you, eat popcorn together and talk boxing. It's the same people now. You're seeing eye to eye. You see them online. You see them doing the stuff, and they ignore you. I say, carry on. What you put out comes back to you. It's cool. Me jealous, don't need to be. In my own field, I'm what they call a gun. You know what a gun is? A gun is that guy that you call to do the business. So I'm cool. I'm happy. I'm happy with what I'm doing myself. You understand? But I'm just letting you know what it is. Sometimes you just got to let people know what it is. As it Matcham would have them arrested, quite possibly. Celebrated for paying on time. It's like your wife coming home and saying, I didn't cheat on you today. Yeah, it's stuff. I don't understand. I still think Wilder will be too much for the rest of the heavyweight division. Well, it depends. Wilder's got to keep when you start getting older, you need to be fighting regular. And the more Wilder doesn't fight, the worse it is for his career. He needs to rest, yes, but he needs to be fighting regular. Even if he's knocking out bums, I don't care. He needs to be fighting regular. People would stop and watch Ingram doing interviews. To the ladies all over Ingram. Guy can go nowhere, bruv. LOL. These scrums can be a pain. Sometimes the people in the press pool are polishing boots with their tongues. Yeah, and I ain't got time for it. Got no time for it. No time whatsoever for it. Too many bootlickers. Some of them are okay, but when you see someone like Chisora on camera who doesn't want to be talked to, it gets so cringe. Yeah, you got to watch Chisora though. Chisora's one of them. That will come out and speak the truth. He'll speak the truth. If you want exclusives, watch Chisora. Listen to Chisora. He'll say stuff. He'll say things like the side of his mouth. You go, I like Derek. You know why I like Derek? Because Derek keeps it real. I like Derek because he keeps it real. All the time I've known Derek Chisora, he's kept it real. Same Derek Chisora. I like him for that. Kept it real. He's one of the real ones. I might not agree with some of the things he does, but at least he keeps it real. 90% of these YouTube journalists are broke off their ass, who were promoted paying their way to see Gatwick when they're tossing bags on plane during their shift. It is what it is, man. Unless, you know, and then when you're in the promoter's pocket, you do as the promoter says. Do you get blocked for accessing shows? Seems like Eddie does a million interviews fight week. I don't go no more, bro. I don't go. I did one interview with Eddie, and that's enough. I did one interview with that guy, and that was enough. And some people are like, oh, you're crying because you don't interview Eddie. I have a career of my own. Like I said, when I did boxing, it was a bit of fun. When I did journalism, it was a bit of fun. It was a challenge because somebody said I couldn't do it, so I went and did it. And I started out with Fight Hype. Little known fact, I started out in boxing with Fight Hype. Another little known fact that you don't know. I started the first Google boxing show, which was the Google Hangout, which was the boxing hangout. That was the first show on Google, which was the boxing hangout on Google Hangout back in the day. Back in the day, we were the first show to do it. And then after us was, what's that show again that's gone real big now? Look at these guys have gone real big now. We've been around then, seen them. Even iFilm, when it was iFilm, them guys back then, even then I saw them guys. Well, Coogan and them. So it's what it is. You just, congratulations to all them guys are successful. They're doing what they're doing. They deserve it because they've put the hard work in, or they've had the opportunities, they've been given the opportunities, they've been sponsored in what they do. So good luck to them. That's what their career is. That's what they're known for, and that's what they do. Good luck to them. I wish them all the best. It's no hard feelings at all, far from it, or bitterness. I enjoy what I do. I get to speak every week about sport. I love it. I'm on a channel that I respect. It's pay-per-view TV. It's on like Sky, but it's in Africa, and I love it. It's fun. It's enjoyable. I'm happy. 1,000 same is true for NBA players. The ones that kept elite in their late 30s played more often than when they were young. Wilder's inactivity is aging him. I know. That's the problem with Wilder. And that's the plan, I think. Chiro's a guy on the corner that everyone says is crazy, but if you read between the lines, he's saying something substantive. Yeah, he is. He's the one you've got. What? Him, Derek Chisora. A lot of time for Derek. Do you want to kick off? Do you really want to kick off? Because I can. Chisora Classic. Listen, I remember Tyson Fury remember Fury used to get in trouble all those years ago for flipping the table and doing all that nonsense, all the antics early in his career. That was to promote fights. And he admitted it was promoter that pushed Fury into doing those things. Fury don't need to do it now because he makes money. But back in the day when Fury was trying to get his career, it was promoters that pushed him to do that nonsense. Do you remember when Derek did the interview? Yeah, I remember. Yeah. But, you know, he's still talking to now, and it's just how you feeling it on the day. I like all the things you're doing. I first found you out when you were doing Football Manager for Arsenal a long time ago. Hey, I'm still doing my Football Manager. I just haven't. I'm doing Football Manager. I'm actually doing it, believe it or not, with Tottenham Football Club. So, yeah. Something different. They got to win something, so I've just gone there to get the job done. Promoters hate journalists with their own money because they can't be controlled. That's it. Tell them the truth, because that's what it is. No disrespect. I just really listen when you talk about boxing. That's cool. That's all right. I get it. Some people don't like me playing FIFA. They like when I talk boxing. It's cool. Ahara Dave says promoter asked him to dye his hair and make a fool of himself. Yeah, that's quite possible. That's quite possible. If you're not a ticket seller, do you remember when I said there's a turning of the tide and fighters, it will no longer be acceptable for fighters just to be able to be skilled boxers, that they have to be the complete package and have to promote themselves. Not soon after that, there was the release of Michael Hunter. Michael Hunter is a talented heavyweight. What happened? And I said it about Hunter. If you don't do the rounds, if you don't do the interviews, if you don't put the effort in, you're gone. Yeah, well, he's gone now. And he's a talented heavyweight. Also, just a question. Why is Fabio Wardley fighting Michael Kofi? That's not a good matchup at all. That's a dangerous matchup. It's for a WBA Continental title. I guess they want to get Wardley into the WBA ratings. But why would you fight Michael Kofi? He likes a fight. Why would you fight him? I'm like, that's a dangerous dude. I mean, you might beat Kofi. You might knock him out. That's a dangerous dude. And Wardley's the type of guy you have to hit him on the chin first to get a response. I don't like that fight. Don't like it at all. Don't see the point of it. Don't see the point of it. O'Hara Davis, I had high hopes for, but they threw him in with Sharks and got him losing on big fights before he was ready. That's because the way O'Hara was talking. It's the way O'Hara was talking. That's why they wanted to see him lose. And what about the road warrior, James DeGale? Guys like fought killer after killer, away from home. He gets respect in the US and Middle East more than the UK. Shameful. Guys are a future Hall of Famer. Yeah, well, that's what it is. They prefer George Groves. You aren't a ticket seller. You aren't a ticket seller. You could be the best boxer to ever live. Promoters don't care about boxing. It's about money. Guess that's the way the world is. Yeah, that is the truth there. I back O'Hara to win a world title, to be honest. Yeah. I thought I'd do a show like this because I haven't done one in a while. I've just kind of aired and just spoke about things. So, you know, I wish Joshua all the very best on Saturday night. I look forward to talking to Uncle Bashir later on today or tonight. Probably tonight I'll talk to him. And because I don't have exams now, I'm a free man for a few days before I get back to doing some promotional work and development work. So, yeah. Right, let me get out of here. Thank you all for watching and tuning in. Love the engagement. Do smash the like button as always. We appreciate when you smash the like button. And yeah, I'll see you guys later on with Bashir. Take care.